So, my friend, chapter 2, verse 15, the verse states, Vayishma Paro, that the Pharaoh heard about this matter, and he said, Vayivakesh Haroged Moshe, he sought to kill Moses. Vayivrach Moshe mipnei Paro, and Moshe ran away from before Pharaoh. Vayeshev Beretz Midian, and he dwelt in the land of Midian. Vayeshev al Be'er, and he dwelt by the well.
Why do you think he wanted to kill him?
Why did Pharaoh want to kill Moses?
Yeah.
So Steve, I guess you're saying, Steve is asking, why did Pharaoh want to kill Moses? Well, the simplest explanation is that Moses was killing an Egyptian for attacking a Jew, and that's against the rules of society, because the rules of society say an Egyptian is allowed to kill a Jew. So it would be like if you saw, let's say in pre-Civil War South, if you killed a white man for hitting a black man, you're threatening the whole fabric of their society. So Moshe was basically also Moshe was threatening the society. I mean, do you not agree with that?
Well, I think there's a lot missing from the description.
Yeah.
It says just he sought to kill Moses, but it would have taken a lot more than that to bring that about. So I think that the backstory here, the missing part, is that Moses was already considered a security risk.
That's probably true too, because it says that Moshe grew older and he went out to his brothers and he saw their affliction. That text hints to the fact that Moshe was, let's just say, living a life that was at risk of being an enemy of the state.
Well, any autocracy usually has spies all over the place.
Yeah.
And one would think that they.
Well, that's how it said. Paro heard about the matter.
Yeah, but he heard about the matter.
So
he was being informed.
Yeah, but Rashi says, interesting. Let's see what Rashi says. Who told him, according to Rashi? Who told Moshe? The Jews. Haim Hilshinu Olav. Datan and Aviram, the two Jews who are fighting, they testified against him. Yeah, they're the ones who testified against him. Vayivakesh Haroged Moshe, and he wanted to kill Moses. Rashi says, Misarolikos dinar hargo, that Pharaoh handed Moses over to the executioner to kill him, but the sword had no impact upon him. Hushamar Moshe, that's why Moshe says, Vayatzileni mecher Paro, he saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. This is what it says in what?
That's Rashi.
It's Rashi. That Rashi says that Pharaoh sought to kill him, but Moshe's the sword couldn't penetrate his neck. Vayeshev Beretz Midian, and Moshe lived in the land of Midian. So Rashi says Nitakev Sham. He stayed there a long time. Like it states, Vayeshev Yaakov, Jacob settled. The word Vayeshev appears twice in the verse, meaning he was really living there. And he sat by the well, he stayed by the well. If you go to Midian today, Saudi Arabia, they have the well of Moses. U'Kohen Midian Sheva Banos. To the Kohen of Midian, and it doesn't say his name first.
Last Rashi.
Oh yeah, Vayeshev al Be'er Lashon Yeshiva. He was dwelling there, sitting. Lamad mi Yaakov, Shenizdaveg lo zivugo min habe'er. He learned from Jacob, who had met his mate at the well. The well in the ancient Bible was like the community bar.
The watering hole.
That's where you got to meet the people. That's where you went for a shidduch. Everybody went for shidduch, you hung out at the well. I mean, because, what? That's where they were, shepherds, yeah.
You knew Jewish dating at the well.
I'm sure they met you at the well. They saw you at Sinai, but they could be.
That's a good idea.
Was at the well.
Okay, so, yes, Jerry.
He could be considered a homeless person sitting by the well.
Well, he kind of was homeless. I mean, he had where is he gonna live? He had a tent, presumably. He didn't say, but Rashi says, no, he wasn't homeless and made a point of saying that he settled in Midian. So he settled there and he settled near the well. I guess you're saying he didn't really have a home. He didn't have a family. So he's just, yeah, that's not a bad point. It's a good point, Jerry.
Thank you.
Good point. So now what does the verse say? Midian, the priest of Midian had Sheva Banot, had 7 daughters. Wow. Vatavona, Vatadlena, Vatamalena, et Haratim, Vashkot Son Avien. And they came and they would draw the water and they filled up the Rahatim, the troughs, to water the sheep of their father. Rashi says, that the word Kohen here does not mean, he said the word Kohen means Rav Shebahem, the foremost amongst them. So Rashi's saying that it does not mean a priest, but here it means a Rav, the head of them, an important man. That's what it means, not a priest of Midian. Uparashlo me'avodah zara, v'nidu me'etzlam. So Rashi says that Yitro had departed from idolatry, and therefore the Midianites had banned him from living amongst them. He was excommunicated. Eteratim et what's Rashi's source? Rashi's source is the Midrash, but what's it based on?
Yeah.
Well, I think that it is based upon the text, because the next verse states that the shepherds came and drove away the daughters of this Kohen, right? So if he really was a very important man, they would have protection. So the fact that they were treating these girls so disrespectfully implies that he wasn't such a stark man like he claimed he was.
But if he was on the outs, why would he be described as a Kohen Midian?
He had been a Kohen, so that's what Rashi's addressing. He had been an important person, but then he became excommunicated because he turned away from idolatry. He's an ex-Kohen.
Like ex-Benedict.
No.
Oh, he just died, so.
Okay. So that's, every midrash is based upon some textual oddity. Even if it seems like, so it's always a great question, Steve, to think about, where does Rashi get this from? It's always a great question.
Yeah, well, I asked it because, it's the more standardized answer would be that these were girls with sheep and the other shepherds then, just pushed them out of the way. They wanted to go first. Watering the animals was
Yeah, but
a major thing.
if he was really the distinguished man,
How was that?
oh, I mean, they know everything.
Like 10 people in town.
No. They actually, the if Midian was close to the Gulf of Aqaba, that's where everybody was. The Midrash has like a city nearby there. Okay, who knows how many people were there? Okay. Vayavo Aroim, and the shepherds came. Vayigarshum, and they drove them away. Vayaka Moshe got up. Vayushian, and he saved them. Vayashk etzonam, and he watered their sheep. He saved them and he watered their sheep. Rashi says, what does this mean? Vayigarshum, he drove them away. He drove them away. What does that mean? Mimnei anidoi. Oh, so Rashi says that they drove the shepherds away. Hello, my dear friend. Here, pass. Oh, you have a chumash. You have a chumash.
That's one, but I have to get the other two.
Yeah. Pass. Aviva has one. Watch out. Aviva has one in front of her. Yeah, right here, Meyer. Okay. So Rashi says that the shepherds drove the girls away because of the excommunication. Because of the excommunication, they were driven away. So, hello, Avi. Hello, Reb Shmuel. So then we're up to chapter 2, verse 18. Vatavone el Ruel abiyan. So now, by the way, everybody knows if you asked anybody, what's the name of Moses' father-in-law, they'll say Yitro. At this point, the text, thank you. At this point, the text does not refer to him as, at this point, the text calls him the Kohen Mijan and Ruel, but it does not call him Yitro. And he says, Vayomer, Madua mi harten bo ayom. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Okay, so hold on one second. Okay, so yes, Jerry had a question.
Yes, the verse 18 says the name of the father was Reuel. I thought it was Yitro.
Right. So that's what I was about to say. You're right. So let's go. Hold on. So the verse is telling us that Rashi is going to tell us later on that this man has 7 names. Yitro has 7 names. And here he's called Reuel, but we have not seen him as Yitro yet.
Steinsaltz commentary. One explanation that Reuel was in fact the father of Yitro, and thus the grandfather of Yitro.
Yeah, right. So that's one explanation. But Rashi adopts the approach that this man Yitro had 7 names, but it's significantly it's not called Yitro here. It's called the Kohen Mijan and Reuel. What was Superman's father's name?
Jarrell.
Very close. Very close.
Did he have sheep? Was he a shepherd? Did he have sheep? Superman.
Yeah. He was supernatural. Hold on one second. Okay. Yes, Jerry, you had another question?
Yes, Reuel, is the translation God will see, S-E-E?
No, it's more like God, maybe the shepherd of God, maybe, or a friend of God.
Oh,
It's with an ayin.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So the verse, so he says, "Vayomer madu mihartin bo hayom." How come you came quickly home today? You know, that's like the joke is that the yeki, when he starts, when he comes home early one day from shul after davening, and his wife says, "Why are you home today?" He says, "Well, why are you home so quickly today?" He says, "Well, because we stopped saying B'tein Talamato of Bracha. We now only say B'tein Bracha." Okay,
It's a real broiler joke.
yeah. So, Vatomarna ish mitzri, and so the Egyptian man said, "Hatzilenu miyad haroim, can you save us from these shepherds? V'gam dalo dalalanu." And they said, an Egyptian man saved us from the shepherds. V'gam dalo dalalanu, and he also drew water for us. Vayash et hatzon, and he watered the sheep. So,
What do you mean?
verse 19.
Oh,
So it's very significant that Moses is identified not as an Hebrew, but as an Egyptian. So to the Egyptians, he was a Hebrew. To the Hebrews, he was an Egyptian. And to the Midianites, he was an Egyptian. And I don't think that that's a compliment for the Midianites, because the reason why he must have ran to Midian was because that's an area where Pharaoh didn't have control over. So they must have been at best neutral, but most likely antagonistic. And yet, here he is criticizing him. I mean, here he is saving them. So that's why it's shocking that he stood up and did it.
Doesn't the Gemara say that he wasn't buried in Israel because of this?
What?
Yeah.
Say more. What were you saying?
Dvarim Rabbah.
Yeah.
And Midrash Rabbah, it says that Yosef, who did admit to his country, was buried in his country, and Moshe, who didn't correct them, he was known as an Egyptian. He wasn't buried in his
Yeah, it's
country.
interesting, but it doesn't say that they called him an Egyptian. It says they went home to tell their father that he wasn't there. But it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree that that's a interesting point. Okay, so Jerry, you had a question.
Yeah, he was identified to these young girls by his clothes. He had to take off immediately, and he was wearing Egyptian garments. That's why they thought he was an Egyptian.
You'd have to say that they thought he was an Egyptian because everything about him, I agree with you, everything about him looked Egyptian. He probably dressed like an Egyptian, spoke with the Egyptian accent. He, in all intents and purposes, he hadn't been raised by the Jews since he finished nursing. So then,
So why did he give him his daughter?
what?
If they thought he was,
they probably figured it out.
Oh, why did he give them his daughter? Probably because, well, this goes back to why Rashi says that he was on the outs. Because he was on the outs, nobody else would want to do a shidduch with him because he was excommunicated. The commentaries say that, did you have something to say, Jerry? Were you trying to say something?
No. That's a good point.
The commentaries say that that many commentaries make this point that Moshe's 3 acts of rebellion, he's getting a broader and broader vision. That first he helped a Jew who was being beaten by an Egyptian. That's the easiest thing. Then he interceded when 2 Jews were fighting each other. He even stood up against a fellow Jew who he thought was acting wrong. Now, the third aspect was he intervened and he risked his life to save a non-Jew. And that's, I mean, several commentaries have made that point, and that's what's all of a sudden when Moshe is selected as, those are his three different stages of being selected for greatness. So then, Vayomer al benosav. So he says to his daughters, Ve'ayo, where is this man? Lama ze'azavten es ha'ish. Why did you abandon him? Kireno v'yochal lechem. Call him and let him eat bread. Okay, what does Rashi say here? Lama ze'azavten. Why is it that you left? Rashi says, Hikir bo shehu mizaro shel Yaakov. Yisro recognized that he was a descendant of Jacob, Shemayim olim likrato, because the water went up to greet him, just like the water went up to greet Jacob when he went to meet
You read
Rachel.
Pharaoh and his daughter.
Rebecca.
No, when he went up to meet Rachel. What were you saying, Judah?
Well, I thought it was the man went to greet Pharaoh.
The water went up to greet Pharaoh.
And his daughter, I thought, no?
Bacha, the water went, did it say that?
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll check that. We'll
What
check
is it?
that.
All right.
Okay, and Jerry, you're raising your hand patiently. Jerry? I don't know. Did you want to say something, Jerry? You're muted. Okay.
Here we go. The Kohen was not at the well when his daughters were being helped by Moses. So how did he know that the well water rose at the approach of Moses?
So presumably they told him that because that's something you would share.
Oh, okay.
Vayochel lechem, and then Yitro ate bread with him, with the man. He says, call him and he'll eat bread with us. Shema Yisa Achas Mikem. He has ulterior motives. He wants him to marry one of them. Kamada Atamar, like it says, Ki im halechem asher hu ochel, except for the bread which he would eat. So that is, where does that verse appear? That verse appears that with Joseph, Potiphar said he put Joseph in charge of everything except for the bread that he ate. So we see from here a very important point that it has the euphemism for shidduch. So he was trying to say to that Yisro wanted eat bread means let's make a shidduch. Now we have a verse from that we cited recently in Tractate Nedarim, and it states in Tractate Nedarim, Vayoel. Vayoel is an expression of an oath. Remember that when the Talmud cited it? Vayoel Moshe Lashevet et Ha'ish. Vayitain et Zipporah bitola Moshe. Moshe, he made an oath. That's what the Talmud tells us. And Moses made an oath that he was going to dwell in Midian, and he had to ask his father-in-law to annul his oath. That's what the Talmud said. Remember that? Let's see what Rashi says. Vayoel kitargumo. Rashi says no. The word means like the Targum translates it. What does the Targum say? Utsavi Moshe means he agreed. He agreed. Moshe consented. Utsavi. Sefar macherem kamashmal. V'domelo hoel navalin. Please consent to spend the night. By the way, I want to just say in passing that we're going to start. We're always doing more and more stuff on YouTube. We have a goal that we want to have 100,000 views by the end by this time next year, and I'm going to put on a new series at the beginning of each week. I'm going to take one phrase from the Talmud and just think about this phrase the whole week. It'll be the sentence of the week that people should think about. So that way we can become Just have the whole week, we'll all be thinking about the same phrase. Can't hurt. Okay, so Vayom Moshe l'shevet et ha'ish, and he gave him Tzipora. He gave him Tzipora, his daughter, for a wife. What does that mean? He gave Tzipora, his daughter, for a wife. Rashi says, okay, wait. Rashi says that the word hoel to daber midrasho lashon alat, citing the Talmud here, and it's an oath. Nishbalo shelo yazuz mi Midian kimber shuto. Made him take an oath that Moshe was not going to leave Midian unless he had permission from Yitro, and that was from the Durham 66. Okay. Vatelad ben vayikrat Shimon Gershom, and she gives birth to a son, and he called his name Gershom. Ki Amar, because he said, Ger hayiti be'eretz nachriya, I was a stranger in a foreign land. Ger hayiti be'eretz nachriya, I was a stranger in a foreign land. So, which land is he referring to? By the way, when Moshe says he was a stranger in a foreign land, is he referring to Egypt or to Midian? I don't know.
Both.
Well, then if it was referring to both, would have said both in two foreign lands.
I think I always assumed it was Egypt. But Midian makes more temporal sense.
Yeah. Yes, Jerry.
Yeah, he was born in Egypt, so he was not a stranger there. It's Midian that he's now a stranger. He made a promise to his father-in-law, I won't leave your house unless you give me permission.
You're probably right, but I also think it works on another level because he was a stranger. He was a stranger in the foreign land. But
I mean, he had to flee to Midian because he had identified with the Hebrews as his brother, right? It says in the text, his brother. So if he identifies them with the brother, then he recognizes that in fact he is a stranger in a foreign land. That's how I would argue it. And just before he said,
no, I think the simplest reading is that it refers to Midian, but on a deeper level, it could also mean a sense of feeling estranged from the land where he was born. Like he wouldn't lament. There's nothing about his time in Midian where he's meant to feel anything other than. Is really nobody talks about his time in Midian. The only time they talk about is his time in Egypt. So that's where he ran away from. So the real context is not Midian, but Egypt. And yeah, Jerry?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay, fine. All right, so we just wait we'll do another minute or two because the minion will be here in a minute, and then we'll dive in. So the verse states, it was during many of those days, because he was there for a long time. Moshe, we don't know how old he was when he got there, but presumably, if I had to guess, sometimes the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about what age. So Seth, maybe you'll see this when you study the parasha with the Rebbe. I would have to guess that Moshe was there for 60 years in Midian.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of time. And Steinsaltz even says that there's not much written about, very little for this long stretch of time that the Torah doesn't really comment on.
Well, we're going to find out everything when we go there. When we do a lot of archaeological evidence and archaeological proof, we're going to discover all this stuff. The Jews didn't spend, yeah. So, but the reason is because. So what happened was, all right, let us pray. But I was going to say the reason why we know he was there a long time is because right when he grew up is when he did the rebellion. When do people do rebellions? When they're teenagers. And he doesn't leave there until he's 80. So all of a sudden, once they get to be 25 and 30, they already have a wife and kids. They're not leading revolutions. The revolutions are led by people who are like too stupid to have anything to lose. No,
According to that, the difference in the age between his two sons would be 60 years.
That's a good point. You're right. But maybe he married his wife, a very young wife.
No, but the first boy